All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nun. Wow, I'm talking, but my video is my mouth is not moving. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay there.
Yeah, it's I'm looking at myself. I can hear myself talking. I feel like my lips are moving, but can you see me talking, Rob?
No, I cannot.
Is it that much of a delay? That is insane. It's like what I'm seeing on the video is me watching as the intro plays. So um, I see you talking in normal speed. So that's good. At least your audio matches up. I'm not sure what happens. Anyways, welcome everyone to an episode of Stu and then honestly, things have been so crazy. I don't even know what episode this is. I have to figure that out later. I've been on the road for 3 weeks and haven't been able to keep up. Me and Rob were talking right before the show. I've been trying to get episodes out. I was in Texas a couple weeks ago. Doug and I were going to get together. I was over at his house. We were going to record a show, and we got to talking and catching up and visiting. And the next thing you know, it was like 9, 10 o'clock at night. We were both just too tired to go get all set up and do everything that needs to do a show. So we ended up not doing one. And then, so I've been in Baltimore. Then I was in Austin. And then I was in Long Island last week, retrieving my son, helping him close up from the school year and doing a road trip with him back home. So it's just been 3 weeks back to back to back. So I apologize for being away. And I also apologize for not getting shows recorded. It has just been moving fast and furious. Because even when I'm home, there's so much to do and catch up on with being on the road that just haven't been able to get to it. But
With the
so it is.
exception of the people in some of those places, those are not places I want to go. They're not on my list.
Well, at least Austin is in the great Republic of Texas, where you used to
True,
live.
true.
And I stayed, I was out visiting Doug. So, and wasn't downtown Austin. Actually, I did go downtown Austin one night, but yeah, but I was there for work and stuff. So actually, all of it except for last week was for work. But yeah, Baltimore was a little sketch. It is definitely, uh, I saw worse in years past, like just open crimes happening, but you could just tell everyone was kind of on edge. I was right downtown, so
Wow.
let's just say my situation awareness was at a peak. That's for sure. So
Last time I was in Baltimore was probably 20 or 30 years ago, at
yeah,
least.
yeah, it's changed a little bit, but that's for sure. But hey, we got a lot to cover. We're gonna try to do this show in about 30 minutes or so, and hit a lot of topics. I mean, first and I kind of want to hit and foremost is we just recently yesterday Tina Turner passed away. A lot of times actors and singers, Rob, will pass away and die, and it's just like they really didn't. It's like, okay, whatever. They were just someone they were here, they were famous for a temporary short time period, and they if they died from a drug overdose or this or that, it's like, well, it wasn't like they had a meaningful impact. But Tina Turner, I mean, she is a musical icon and always was one. And, known, I guess, initially, no real controversy, known initially for, getting beat up and suffering from domestic abuse a lot due to Ike Turner back in the 60s. But outside of that, I mean, she came out of that and survived and became bigger than ever and was just kind of a cultural icon, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on her?
Yeah, there's few people on this planet that rise to that level. When you look at dignitaries from different countries and things like that, but when you talk about uh, whether it's musicians or actors or actresses and stuff like that, I think Tina Turner definitely up there. I don't. There's probably not a corner on the planet that people don't know who she was. So
Right.
you could take you could just Google any other actor in Hollywood or whatever, and you're going to find places where people are like, well, who is that? Everybody knew who Tina Turner was. Everybody knew pretty much her story, knew her, her comeback. She did it for decades, and she never put out anything bad. She was
Yeah.
all of her music was great, great voice, it's a loss. It's a loss for the.
You know, any controversy or scandal around her or anything like that? I mean, no, Whitney Houston looked like she had a stellar career than the way she died. I mean, no drug
Right,
stuff, no this, and if she did, man, she kept it on the down low and didn't air it all out and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I
right,
didn't even know she had was living in Switzerland. I guess that's where she's been living the last few years,
right,
and that's where she passed. But when I think of Tina Turner, I don't know my initial the two things that popped to mind. Someone says Tina Turner's obviously "What's Love Got to Do with It?" Phenomenal song of
mhm,
the '80s when we were growing up, and her dresses, the fringy kind of dresses and the long legs and stuff, and then also I think of Mad Max, right, Beyond the Thunderdome, her role in that movie where she was the host of the Thunderdome fighting cage and all that kind of stuff, and obviously she had some songs that were part of the movie, but I mean that's I know she did a lot more. She was very interested in Motown and very much part of it. But when I look back at my years, those are the kind of two things. That song and that movie kind of stand out over everything else.
right. I mean, she always kept herself in fantastic shape. She was always, she was still out there touring, up until like I want to say 2010, somewhere around there. So I mean, uh,
Yeah.
she was 83. I mean, that's a long life for most, but again, it's a loss for the world for sure.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. For it definitely was. But so we hearts go out to her family, her husband, and friends, and all that kind of stuff. And it happens. This is life, right? We none of us are guaranteed here forever, and we just can only count ourselves lucky that those in the newer generations really never knew her, unless they're into older music. I mean, they don't. That wasn't really the thing, and I guess we grew up in the right time get to know her as a great artist and just be able to hear her talent. So,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But what do you got? I know wanted to hit on a couple topics in this episode. What do you got next?
I mean, there's so many things. There's never a shortage of topics. We could talk about Daniel Perry. We could talk about Target. We can talk about one of
Well,
one
let's
of the.
talk about Daniel Perry because that was a couple weeks ago. So let's hit on that
Okay.
because yeah, that's still going on. We don't want that to fall off the radar.
Yeah, he's charged with manslaughter in the second degree, which, from what I've seen in New York, comes with up to 15 years in prison. He's the one of the things that I don't want to say happiest about, uh, but that's probably where I'm going with it is the fundraiser for him was done so on a platform that, at least by all appearances right now, is not one like GoFundMe that's going to discriminate and interject their own politics into it. These i- in my opinion, these platforms should simply say, here's the situation. If you agree with it, donate. If you don't agree with it, don't donate. But too often, things like GoFundMe doesn't agree with it and they shut it down immediately.
Right.
And so far, there's been $2.7 million raised for him, which, those of us around 2A and things like this understand that these are very costly battles. There's a lot of money that goes into fighting these types of charges and things, around that, and especially in a state like New York and the city like, New York City. So it's going to cost a lot. I do like the fact that whether you agree with him or not, people should be able to donate to what they believe in without the platform injecting their own opinions
Yeah,
on it.
wasn't it GoFundMe that shut down the fundraising for the truckers in Canada?
It
Right.
was, it
Yeah.
was,
And they've
and
done some other ones too that
y-
they've I think Kyle Rittenhouse maybe they didn't let people donate to
I
him or
believe
something like
so.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's they should be able to do that for sure. Um yeah, so he's still fighting. Obviously, I think a lot of people on the left and right have all agreed that he was in the right. Many people, it's interesting is that all those people on the subway and people for outside the city don't. I mean, people, and of course, he's charged by Bragg, so not surprising there. But for people outside the city, I mean, if they criticize it and say, why didn't he just Why didn't someone wave down a cop or do this or just wait? It's like, you're in a tin can. There's no escape. You're 100, underground. You don't know when the next stop is coming. There's nowhere to run. New York is a flight before fight state. It's not a stand your ground state, so you have to try to get away to get yourself out of an altercation before you take deadly force. But there's nowhere to go in a subway car. But you can move between cars, but so can everyone else. And it was, and people that have been around. I've been in the city enough. I'm there quite a bit. I mean, even as someone, and I'm in pretty good shape, and I can defend myself. I mean, even like when I was in Baltimore a couple weeks ago, I'm still like, I'm tensed up, adrenaline's pumping, I'm hyper vigilant, and I'm paying attention. And most people in New York City that use that every day aren't, and they just kind of keep their heads down. There's crazy people all the time. I've been there with my family. I've seen it in Penn Station, and you just try to avoid and say, I'm not going to get involved and whatever. But you can only take it so much. And when you got a guy coming in saying, you're going to give me food, you're going to do this, I don't care if I die, I don't care if I take a bullet, and all that kind of stuff, that, I mean, it's not much different than a suicide bomber. I mean, if someone is willing to die, whether they're being, they're just talking smack or they're serious, you don't know if they're serious, their intent is good or not. Go to jail forever and all that kind of stuff. They come across as having no fear, and ignoring them is not going to do it, because they're so loud and in your face. You're not going to be able to ignore them. uh Daniel Penny put him in a chokehold. Obviously the media loved jumping on him that he was a Marine and this and that, whatever. That's, we, didn't know if he was a tanker, pencil pusher, or what he was, right? An infantry guy, who knows? But regardless, he knew how to put him in chokehold, and he even rolled him over twice to give him a relief position and give him a break. He was just holding him, and there were two or three other people of mixed races, I think a Latino and a black man, who were helping hold him down. Yet they were not charged.
Right.
Right. The
Right.
people that were on the train, on the subway, who did not intervene or try to get him to let go, which means you're complicit. All right, did not get charged. And I think people on left, right, and everywhere are all in agreement that this case has zero merit and probably no chance of being prosecuted, even by those in New York. In fact, probably less of a chance by those in New York that ride that subway all the time.
Right. Well, there's a growing trend. I mean, New York has been on this trend for a long time, but you saw it in the Rittenhouse, and you see it in other places where they are making it almost, they're pushing to society to a point where people are afraid to stand up for themselves because of what they're going to put them through. Whether it's right or wrong. Whether someone is punching a baby in the face, they don't want you to interact with that. They would rather you stand back and let it happen. And then what they do is they take this individual, in this case, the gentleman that died, 42 times New York had him in possession. 42 times. That is
listed as one of
42 times.
listed as one of the top, in the top 50 most dangerous homeless
Yeah.
people in New York City. If you think of
That
that,
is
and what, all the
42
millions of people,
times
yeah, all the
that.
millions of people live there, and he's in the top
Yeah.
50.
Yeah, but what I was saying, that is 42 times that the city of New York failed not only him, but failed the citizens of New York. They failed. That this
Yeah,
this death is not solely on Daniel Penny. This death falls on the city of New York, and
it falls on those that defunded the police. It falls on
yes,
those that made the being a police, NYPD, so toxic that so many, they have retired and quit in droves. That's why there was no cop on that train. Had there been a police officer on that train, they would have handled it, and a private citizen would not have to have stepped up and done something to save fellow citizens.
well,
Right.
in New York, if the outcome would have still been the same, then they would have charged the cop. I mean, it was, you know,
Right. Well, unless he was a black cop. Let's just call it like it is. If he was a black cop, they wouldn't have.
yeah,
They would have called him names, but it wouldn't have been near as bad. But again, though, would the perpetrator have been so brazen to act such a way if there were cops all in all the subways and all that kind of
right,
stuff, right?
right,
So yeah, they failed him. His family, I mean, it's amazing afterwards, they coming out filing lawsuits and all this stuff, and the race baiter, lawyers chasing after everything, and the families out there, talking about how they killed their loved one, this and that, whatever. Okay, not long ago, he punched a 60-something-year-old woman in the face. Like I said, he'd been
Yeah.
arrested 42 times. Everyone knew he had issues. His mother, I don't know which family members came out. They all tied it back to when he was 18. They found his mother murdered, and he found her dismembered and stuffed in a trash can, I think. And they said that's when he went kind of off the rocker. Understandably so. I think anybody would without getting the proper help. And he probably wasn't. You know, he probably got the sorry your mom got killed. You had to find her. And I doubt there was no programs or anything that reached out to give him counseling and help him get through that. And he probably would a little wacko. And so his family, the BLM movement, all those mostly white college kids and those folks that jumped down on the subway train to block the train and protest, where were they when this guy was getting arrested and letting out 42 times? Where were they when he was punching people and having obviously a number of mental issues, like many of the other street performers that knew him and said he was definitely off? Like, nobody was stepping up helping him out.
Yeah.
So obviously they didn't care that much.
Well, and then his own uncle, is calling for, no leniency, no leniency, and then he gets arrested. And
Oh,
they're
the
trying
uncle got
to
arrested.
the uncle got arrested. So,
Oh, I didn't know about that.
yeah, his uncle Christopher Neely, $10,000 bail, because he was already on probation for grand larceny before. And so now they're trying to, they say the latest charge is, now the uncle is kind of going crazy because of his nephew, and he was like a father figure to him, and etc. So it's just this cascading
It
effect.
sounds like his uncle taught him the ways of the street.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
so, I wonder if he's still shouting no leniency for himself.
He
Yeah,
was stealing
it's
credit cards this time. That's what he got busted for. So,
yeah. So he taught his nephew and his protege there well. So I mean, yeah, I don't see it going anywhere. It has less I think less possibility than even Kyle Rittenhouse did of getting prosecuted.
well, there
Um,
have been some that have come out and said he absolutely saved us from being
Yeah,
assaulted.
like, I think
So,
everyone on the subway. I don't think anyone in the subway car came out and said, "Shame on him. He could have not
yeah,
killed him." Blah blah blah.
yeah,
They've all went like, "He's a hero." Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, your flag went away. Um, but yeah. So it is something to keep an eye on. I hope people are keeping it in the news. I hope people stay up on it. But yes, the fundraising from Kid Rock and everyone else and everyday Americans, raising so much money, just shows that everyone is sick and tired of this, and that even if they all I can do is contribute a few bucks, everyone feels this guy should not have been charged, just like the bodega owner should never have been charged when he defended himself. But yeah, but no, it's something to keep an eye on. Hey, so the other thing I want to hit on before is we got to talk about this debt ceiling. This is definitely a hot thing. I think we're down to what, 10 days now, 9 or 10 days.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we went for months and months of the administration saying no negotiation, it's our way, the highway. And, every time a reporter would bring it up to Claude Jean Pierre, whatever name is, I was like, no, just there's no negotiation, just sign, just agree to it and just move on. And always thought that was so brazen and cocky of the administration to think that, well, it is and not. Based on past history, the GOP has bent so many times for them and caved in so much times for what the Democrats want that they probably just thought they were going to get it again. But finally, McCarthy, has more backbone than some of the past, GOP leaders like Graham and McConnell and all the rest of them that have been running around there and just caving in, and Thune and some of them, and he stood up and held them to it, and then even passed a bill so they couldn't say, well, what's the GOP's. I lost you, Rob.
Yeah. I'm still here.
Um,
I'm just trying to fix my
okay,
background.
okay. Even the GOP said, they passed it and said so they could say, hey, well, we passed something. That's our plan. It took all those months of blowing it off to now getting down to the wire, and we still got the president stumbling his way around Japan and other places. But I don't know what to believe. I'll be honest. I'm not the smartest guy in money and stuff, and I try to watch this stuff and everything, keeping it. But you got some people saying if we hit this limit, like I've heard everything from housing interest rates, mortgage rates are going to jump to 8 point something percent, to college loans, to this. I mean, they're just short of doing Chicken Little And then I've heard others say, nope, this is kind of what needs to happen, and to do it right, and rather than just keep raising the debt limit. What have you found it? Have you heard anything that stands out or that gives you
Well,
caution or
here's there's a couple of different things. So one, Democrats don't want to come to the table, right? The Republicans passed this month, about a
right?
month ago. But Democrats simply have not offered any solutions other than raise the debt limit by $4 trillion. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back seats. $4 trillion. That is sacrificing my grandchildren and my great grandchildren's future by raising
Right.
it $4 trillion without offering any cuts. The biggest cuts that the Republicans are offering is saying, okay, we got all this COVID fund out here, let's pull it back. All this COVID fund that has not been spent, let's pull it back. You know, which they should. All this money that the IRS that you allocated to these IRS agents that we know is not going to go to, going after the rich. We know 87,000 IRS agents are going to go after the middle class. Take that money. So there is billions and billions that they could save and stop this spending. Um, but we cannot afford $4 trillion being added to the debt. And where's it coming from? China. Who who is Biden expected to being sold out to? China. So we've got to quit borrowing money, and we've just got to quit this nonsense. I understand, the debt ceiling has to be raised. I understand these things, but we can't continue to just borrow this kind of money forever. We just can't
I
do it.
wish I could do this in my credit cards, my loans. Like, hey, I know I've got a $25,000 limit on a card. I just need you to raise that some more. Just
Right.
raise it. I mean, it's like, well, sir, you're at 23,000, and you're like, I know I'm going to hit that 2,000 this
Yeah.
month. So let's just make it 40,000. Don't worry about checking my credit. My credit
Yeah.
sucks. I mean, this is the
Yeah.
if the country if this country was a person on credit cards, this is what it'd be like. I know my credit sucks. I just need you, but sir, we raised it already like 5 other times. Yeah, no,
Well,
I
the
need you to
same
raise
people
it
that
again.
say, "Oh, well, we have to pay our debts," are the same people that say, "Oh, all this student debt that these people incurred, no, 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 they don't have to pay for that.
That's
Let
a
the
good point.
taxpayers pick it up."
That's a
So,
good point.
no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
If you pay your debts, you pay your debts.
I mean, you have states like California who are trillion or billions in debt, and
Right.
then they're trying to, Newsom isn't letting it go through right now, but they got people, a board he put together coming out saying, oh, every black person in the state of California needs $2 million in reparations. By the way, they don't have to show now proof of ancestry from a slave. They don't have to show just proof of descendancy, and they don't even have to be a resident of California, right? So,
We
but
could
we're going
do
to
a
pay them
whole show on that topic.
yeah, but we're gonna give them $2 million each. I'm telling you, you know what, Rob? I was talking to my sons last night about this. I'm like, in today's time, where you can look at Dylan Mulvaney or the suitcase robber there, or all these drag queens or Leah Thomas. I can identify was that if you're going to give $3 million to a black person, I will be in LA next week, and telling them, just like Bill Clinton did, I'm a black man. And if people look at me and go, no, you're not. I mean, well, yeah, I can go back and find my 1024th DNA track
Yeah.
and identify as a black person. I'm a bald black guy with a
Well,
beard.
so so somebody that's, let's say, been here 10 years. Let's say somebody immigrated here from, I don't know, Croatia 10 years ago and they're now a US citizen. Should they have to pay tax dollars for this? That was something that they had nothing to do with?
Right. Right.
No,
Well, I didn't have anything to do with it either.
I
Either did
didn't either.
you.
No,
Nobody on this planet sucking oxygen right
right.
now had anything to do with it. In fact, neither did our parents, and probably
No.
not grandparents, and probably not great grandparents had anything to do with it. But either way, you're right. That's a whole other show. But the thing is that back on the debt limit, is that we've got the country inching closer to it. It makes me wonder how this happens every time, right? When they're getting down to budgets and all that stuff, right? They wake up to the last second and then they scramble, and it's like a game of shitty chicken at our expense, right? So who is gonna? The two cars are running towards each other, right? You got Biden and Feinstein and Fetterman in one, who don't even know what they're doing, cruising one way, and you got the GOP coming the other. We're standing in the middle, and it's like, who's going to duck first, right?
Yeah.
And either way, no matter which plan, is still raising the debt limit. I mean, the GOP is not stopping pain; they're going to raise it. They're just saying, over the next several years, you got to start cutting stuff. I don't think with the GOP, regardless of my political affiliation, asked for anything drastic or impossible to satisfy. They said we'll raise the debt limit, but we can't just have an unlimited checkbook and just and no plan to start to cut back.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's called being fiscally responsible. It's what we'd expect anyone would do with our taxpayer dollars.
Well, I mean, if the average American did 1% of what our government did, we'd be in jail, right? You
Yeah,
know, it's ridiculous. And some of the things that the Republicans have offered is work requirements for certain programs. Now, there's so many lies out there because and you can tell when the same things are repeated over and over and over again and done so through the media, the arm of the Democrat Party, it's a lie. When they say, "Oh, they're going to cut veteran benefits," they're not going to do that.
right.
There's not a Republican on this planet that would allow that to happen because they would get slaughtered in the next election if they did so. Uh, and more uh, Republicans are veterans than Democrats. They're not going to let that happen. So they're aware of what's in that. Um, but pulling back that unspent COVID money, they don't want to pull it back. The Democrats don't because the majority of that is going to Democrat run cities and states. So they don't
Yeah, it's
want to
going to
pull
go
that
into
money back.
slush funds and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah. So
right.
but the other thing was, and I always confuse the two: Medicaid, Medicare. The one when you're over 65. The lie is, well, those people are going to have work requirements. You are not going to put a work requirement on somebody over the age of 65.
Right.
That's
Right.
stupid on the face of it. If you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you. That is just plain stupid.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it
So I don't know where things are going to go with this. I mean, it's here's what I do know. Every day we get closer, you're going to hear doom and gloom, right?
sure.
And it's going to be doom and gloom, and it's all the other side's fault. And Claude Jean Pierre Clonpierre, there's going to be up there every day, and she's going to continue to lie and spew Baghdad Bob level bullshit. And it's all the Republicans' fault. Republicans' fault. Republican. The view is going to be spewed. They're all none of them are going to change. They're all going to talk the same. It's just they're going to see, can they say it enough, because they've done this before. Can they say it enough to get the American people to believe and get on their side, just because they say it over and over and over again? And that's worked a lot of times for American
It's
people who don't
it's a very
separate the
effective
BS from.
strategy. There is
Yeah.
still, if you go on social media in certain spaces, despite the Durham report being out, despite the other gentleman, I'm drawing a blank on his name, uh, not finding anything, there are still people that say Donald Trump colluded with Russia,
Well, you
and
got
and that there was
besides Rachel the cow Maddow saying it, you've got Shifty Schiff saying he doesn't believe it. You've got people, yeah, come right out and said, "Man, I don't believe it." Like
yeah,
you didn't spend 4 years and $6 million researching this. Just
yeah,
don't believe it either way.
yeah,
And yet they'll call, people like Trump science and other people science deniers, because you don't believe in the mask, you don't believe in the shot, and they go, how can you not believe the scientists? How can you not believe Fauci? I
yeah.
don't know. How do you not believe this attorney and this guy with all his experience who spent 4 years? Why don't you believe him? He interviewed everyone. He talked to everybody. He brought
Yeah.
charges to a couple people. It's complete BS.
Yeah, the brainwashing and utilization of the media to their benefit is very, very effective, very
Right.
effective.
So as the days count down, we'll see. We're all just going to watch a game of chicken for the next 9 or 10 days, and Doug, it's not the Duran report. I don't know what you're talking about. You should not try to act like Rob, the producer. Um, the but we're just gonna have to see how it goes and see who flinches first. And one thing's it's gonna be kind of like the election, right? No matter what happens, half this country is going to be pissed off, right? It was like the 2020 election. It was like a 2016 election. Half the country is going to be pissed off. Either
Yeah,
the Dems are gonna negotiate, and all the the administration of the Dems are going to be pissed off, or the GOP is going to flinch and they're going to cave in and just raise it with no negotiation after passing a bill, and there's going to be hell to pay on that side too. Either side, it's going to be it's and I think I don't think McCarthy can afford to flinch. I think he is. He barely got in there as a speaker, and there's way too many
Yeah.
people between our past guests, Anna Paulina Luna, who is now bringing charges up against Schiff. Great, we got to get her back on the show. And Tom Cotton, and so many others that will hold McCarthy to task if he
Matt
does not
Gates.
hold fast on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Matt
There's a
Gates,
lot of them.
yes,
It's refreshing to
yeah,
see some of them with a spine for a change, because we've seen
yeah,
in the past where far too often they at the last minute concede, and they just don't have a spine, and the everything gets pushed further and further and further and further, but nobody ever resets it. So it's good to see some of the Republicans actually have a spine.
yeah. And luckily that's because of Hawley and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert and Luna, and so many of them. It's that it's our good friend Jimbo, man. Jim Hansen said to me a while back, several years ago. He goes, "There are two parties in Republicans, just like the Democrats. There's your established Republicans and there's the MAGA Republicans.
Right.
Whether they like Trump or not, it's the new Republican Party, and they are the ones that are no longer just going to roll over and play nice and hope the other side plays nice, because we've seen enough. We've been burned enough, and we know they don't."
Well, you see more veterans in Congress now than we've
Yeah,
seen in a while. Thankfully, because we're not in a 20-year long war anymore, and so that they're capable of doing that. You've got one of the Luttrell brothers in there. You've got Anna Paulina Luna is a former Air Force. You've got several Navy SEALs in there, several Green Berets in there, several. I mean, helicopter pilots out of
helicopter pilots.
Houston.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
You got
great to
you got
see.
Ronnie Jackson, former surgeon and
Yep.
veteran himself. Yeah, so many,
Yep.
and it's good to see. Something real quick, and we're gonna do another show here. We'll have it out in a couple days, but we're gonna talk about the upcoming 24 election. But a fact brought up last night, I didn't realize, of all the people that have thrown their hat in the ring for the 24 election so far, on both sides, there's only one that's a veteran, and that's DeSantis. So it's
Yes,
going to be
Navy.
interesting to see,
He's Navy.
right?
I mean, we'll give him a pass.
We give him a pass, but he's still a veteran. And
Yeah.
between Haley and Tim Scott, and of course, President Trump and Biden and Kennedy and all that, he is the only veteran. It's going to be interesting to see if that makes a play, and if he stays as the only one that throws their hat in the ring. I don't know, but so far that's it, and we're less than 18 months out. So
Yeah, let's just hope that the three-lettered agencies stay out of this one, right?
yes, yes, but that's
That's
for
all I
sure.
want. I mean, let things fall where they may. I mean, let the people speak. If they elect Trump, then let it happen. And I think if Trump does get in, I think you're going to see the same old attacks that we saw last time. But I think less people are going to fall for it this time, because it's going to be like, oh, this is the same thing we saw before.
Right. I
Different
would,
circles, same clowns.
yeah, I would agree. Probably same attacks, but I think you almost, even though I think you'll even though he had a break in between terms, so I guess he could do another term. Could he do not 8 years?
No, no, I think you
No,
can only
just
do
one more
two.
4 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just like any second term president, his don't give a shit factor is going to be through the roof, more so than ever
Right.
before. He's not
Oh,
going to care about it.
he's going to go
he is
scorched earth,
he is going
which is
scorched
why
earth.
they don't want him there. You know.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
going to be like Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder. He is going to go scorched
y-
earth, and is just not. I mean, they thought he fired a lot of people before and threw people under the bus.
I
Yeah,
could. I mean, we just got it revealed this year. I mean, I could see, an assassination attempt. If it were to happen and get to there, I mean, we could have another whole Kennedy Kennedy assassination all over
Y-
again.
yeah. It. Well, I don't know. I think he will. I think he's going to gut a lot of those agencies really quick. So,
Well, that's
um,
speculation on what Kennedy wanted to do, and why
yeah,
they had to assassinate him. He wanted to get
that's right.
rid of some of them.
Ooh,
So
man, we're gonna have to do a Daily Plaza episode sometime. But all right, well, hey, let's wrap this one up. And thank you everyone for joining us. We're in about almost 45 minutes, I guess, and or about 40 minutes. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna have more episodes coming out soon. A couple with me and Rob and some others. Our good friend Scott Mann and I've been trying to get him back on. He's had a lot of great stuff going on with the Gary Sinise Foundation. He's been busy traveling. I think he's actually speaking tonight at the SF Association dinner So been working with him and some other folks. So and hopefully I got to actually reach out to our good buddy Matt. I got to get a copy of his book. We had Deputy One Time on a few weeks ago, and he was supposed to send me a copy of his book to read so we could get him back on and do a review. So a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
So
he's running for what, the Senate for Arizona?
well, Mark Lamb is, so Sheriff
Lamb
Lamb
is,
is,
yes. Yeah,
and
that's
he
true.
was just
Yes.
on the news because Mad mother, he lost his son and grandchild to
Right.
a drunk driver, and back in December, which
Yeah.
Matt Thomas talked about a few weeks ago, and the Mad organization disinvited him and his wife from speaking because of his political things. So he was just all over the news last week because of his political standings. He was coming there not representing that he was running for Senate. He was coming there as someone that suffered personally from a drunk driver, and then they disinvited him because someone complained to them, not because someone complained to them. Someone got woke and complained that they were having him guest speak, and they disinvited. It's just amazing how these ultra micro minorities number of people can get an organization to flip on a dime.
Well,
But
let's talk about that real quick on that subject, because
okay,
that's one of the things that you're seeing a lot lately. Well, I mean, not just lately. We've been seeing it for a while, and there's an answer for it. We've been catering to the smallest of minorities for a couple of years now. But now that the pendulum is swinging the other way for other small minorities that people don't agree with, more conservative type thinking, now people are complaining. But when you've already opened Pandora's box, when you've already been speaking, when you've already been trying to appease the smallest of minorities, you can't now bitch and complain that these other small minorities of people are getting their way. The
right.
box is open. Sorry, you opened it. It's open.
Yep. Yep. No, you're right. It can take the smallest one to who's the organization going to want to listen to. So,
Yep.
but yeah. So, all right.
People
Well, hey
speaking
everyone,
with their
so
pocketbooks.
thank you so much, Rob, for joining me. Everyone, stay tuned. We got more shows coming. Keep an eye on the Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube, all our outlets. Be sure to like our page, and we'd love to have you on there and keep up better updates. And we'll try to do more. And hey, you can always comment on the Facebook page, ideas. Nothing. Everyone can be part of this. You can always put up ideas and thoughts about topics you want us to talk about. We will take those and for the most part, probably run with them. If there's something you want to hear our opinion on or bring a guest on, we invite you to comment on the page and either introduce us to someone if you know someone you'd like to have on the show, or someone you want us to get a hold of or talk to, or just a topic to talk about. We would definitely do that. So we'll let you all. Everyone has a part in this. We're like a co-op. So with all that said, I will let you go. Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and you guys have a great night. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.